Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now. Got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now. Got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Leur 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida TV. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on this Monday, August 12th, still in Spain. Thanks everyone for watching on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. And of course, because I am in Spain, this was pre-recorded a little bit earlier in the day. And so thank you for understanding and thank you for watching. The Sick Podcast brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. Also brought to you in part by Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager, a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer. Perfect for the hot summer days. Only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can. Available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing. Also brought to you in part by Playground. Explore their 30,000 square foot expansion with thrilling games, gourmet dining, live entertainment located just over the Mercier Bridge. Only minutes from downtown Montreal. Playground experience the strip without the trip. Without further ado, let's bring him in from the Recruits Draftcast podcast, former Montreal Canadiens scout and the Bob Gainey administration. Grant McCagg, how are you?
Good, Tony. Yourself?
Very, very good, Grant. Thanks for doing this, my man. I thought of you when I saw a report from Sergei Demidov of Responsible Gaming, who had a chance to catch up with former Montreal Canadian Andrei Markov, who, of course, played 990 NHL career games, would have loved to reach 1,000 with the Canadiens, who tells Mr. Demidov that, you know what, he'd like to get into coaching. Now, it's very demanding. It'll take up some time. Maybe time he doesn't have because he has 5 kids, but he'd like to get into coaching. So, you know, with all the people that were upset that Markov didn't hit the 1,000-game mark with the Montreal Canadiens, you would think that they would love Markov to end up being, part of the coaching staff with the Montreal Canadiens. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, he wouldn't be my first choice, Tony, for a lot of reasons. First of all, his personality. I don't know that, you hear Knuckles used to tell stories about him when he had a show on, and it wasn't always flattering, Not the most vocal, didn't communicate a lot. Like, he'd go a month where he'd say about 6 words. So
yeah,
I don't know how a guy that doesn't communicate, that's acerbic, that didn't really have a reputation for being overly likable, would become a great NHL coach. Like, what are the players supposed to do? Just look up at him and judge by his eyes what he's thinking. And I don't see the fit, Tony. But he's Russian. How many Russian? Can you name all the great Russian coaches that have been in the NHL? Has there been any? Are there any in the NHL right now? Are there any Russian coaches?
Not off the top of my head. Not that I can say, no.
Also, I think Robidas is a great coach. So you certainly don't bring, a guy with experience and replace who's doing, I think, a fantastic job. He's been handed rookies for the last 2 years and developed them very well. So I certainly wouldn't bring him in to replace Robidas. That'd be the last thing I'd consider. I think he's done a fantastic job with the young defenseman, and certainly I wouldn't replace It'd be the last thing I think. A guy that has no experience, is Russian, non-communicative, bring him in to replace somebody who's doing a great job. That'd be the last thing I'd be considering right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time the Canadiens brought in inexperienced coaches, that were great NHLers, like remember when Uhl?
Yeah, you're talking about the Tremblay.
Tremblay shut
Cornway. Yeah.
And I mean, also with you could say about to teach the power play. Well, those guys? It just seems like great NHLers and great scorers you can't teach instincts. You can try to coach it, but you look at all the great coaches that have won multiple cups, Tony's, in the last 50 years. You look at Bowman, Arbor, Cooper, Sullivan, Sutter, Sather, Muckler, you name all of them. None of them were great players. So it just, the Gretzky, was he a great coach? I mean, Arizona was last place every year, I think. So this notion that, if he's a great player, then he's going to be a great coach. Marty is an exception because he paid his dues. He was on waivers. He had to fight, It didn't come just, got handed a job. Any of those guys. Sutter became a good player, but he had to work his tail off to become a good player too. It seems like the best coaches are the ones that, the guys that had to work hard to get where they were, not the natural players, the great players that, I mean, you could say Robinson and Lemaire became good coaches, but they were mentored by Scotty Bowman, who was Markov mentored by Michel Therrien. From no angle do I see where this makes sense for the Canadiens to bring him in as a coach.
Yeah, you mentioned Robinson and Lemaire, who obviously both won a Stanley Cup as head coach of the New Jersey Devils. The one when Jacques Lemaire won it was really something because actually the student beat the professor in that Stanley Cup final. If you recall,
That's right.
Lemaire's Devils that swept Scotty Bowman's Detroit Red Wings. The more I think of it, and I know just now that the second I'm going to say this, that there's going to be a bunch of answers on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. But off the top of my head, the greatest player to have success as a coach is Zinedine Zidane with Real Madrid. That's off the top of my head. But once again, I know that there's going to be people on social media who are going to bring up other names, which is great. But you're right. For the most part, it's a comment that's fair. The late Diego Armando Maradona used to coach in soccer, and he failed everywhere he went, unfortunately. Wayne Gretzky, it didn't work out, like you mentioned. And good players are very star players. It usually doesn't work out. And I think it's because they're probably so demanding of their players that they can't accept a player not being able to do something that for them was routine. Yeah. But for them, it was routine because they were among the best in the world to do it. They made it look routine, but it's probably not routine. Thierry Henry has grown a little bit. He just won the silver medal with coaching the France team at the Olympics in soccer. But his CV has been one of more downs than ups. Being a strikers coach with the Belgium national team at the World Cup in Monaco didn't work out. It was with CF Montreal, didn't work out. And you saw it. He was, when he had his struggles, he was a guy that was still a player as a manager. And never really became a manager. Maybe that's one of the reasons why great players struggle in terms of coaching and professional sports. But you're bang on about Markov because, man, I've been in that Montreal Canadiens room, or I was in that Canadiens room a lot, try and talk to the players after the game or on an off day. And Markov, it was tough to get some words out of him. Sometimes, like he's coming back from an injury, so it's important that you talk to him, or he scores a big goal or he's on the ice for a goal against. It's important that you talk to him. And it was like pulling teeth to get a word. And I don't know if you know this, but he had a golf tournament while he was a Montreal Canadian. I was asked to MC the golf tournament. And so I thought, you know what? It's going to be pretty cool because I'm probably going to be able to talk to him more now than I ever have. And I couldn't get a word out of him either. even at that. I just couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's neat that he's, forgiven the, what happened there. It was kind of a poor breakup at the end with Bergevin stuff. And, it's neat. It's a nice story that, he'd like to get back involved and stuff. But I think he'd have to, first of all, he'd have to pay his dues. Like, coach in the KHL and be successful. And if that happens, then consider it down the road, maybe, if he becomes a good coach. I mean, the one Russian that I would try to get over if I were gonna ask a Russian to join the staff would be Larionov. He's the obvious choice. He's proven over there, great with the kids, smart. He's, affable. He communicates well, but I don't see Larionov coming over to coach, be an assistant coach in the NHL. If he ever comes over, I think it'll be as a head coach job. But he's the only one that comes to mind that I think would be attractive as far as a Russian coach goes. Look at Maurice Richard, right? He coached one game with the Quebec Nordiques, and he said, "Okay, that's it. I can't teach these guys my heart, how to compete like I did or how to think like I did." Boom, boom. When he coached the Habs, he lasted quarter of a season, not even that. And then, his ulcers were acting up and he couldn't, it's frustrating for the greats. You can't teach. Like Markov was a very smart player, but how do you teach those instincts to other people? It's not easy. It's usually the guys that weren't great NHLers, Brian Murray, Pat Quinn, or other ones. Like, you go down the list, Mike Babcock, John Cooper, Joel Quenneville, they were all, none of them were great NHL players, but they became great coaches, communicators. I don't know that it just doesn't seem to work with the great player, and especially one that has no experience. It doesn't add up for me to consider bringing him in, even to help the power play. I think there's better choices.
Hey, I know of a name of someone who I think could be a real good coach, a Russian. Can I throw one in there?
Yeah.
Fedorov.
You think so?
Well, he coached, then he coached CSKA a couple of years ago. I think he won the championship with them.
Yeah, but that's Russia has stacked teams. CSKA is stacked. They either win or SKA wins usually. I mean, Rottenberg's not a great coach, and keeps winning championships because they've got billions of dollars behind them and stacked the lineup. But I don't know. Fedorov was not a hardworking NHLer. I'm sort of surprised that he actually went into coaching, but maybe he's different as a coach than he was as a player in that regard, but it wouldn't be, I don't know that he'd be a great NHL coach, but never say never.
I mean, look, I just threw it out there. By no means that I ever, dissect his work of what he did in the KHL. I'm simply going off of stats that a couple of years ago he won the championship, and he was the coach of the year in the KHL. So
right.
Bob Hartley, by the way, was coach of the year in the KHL on an occasion.
Mike Keenan.
Mike Keenan also. Bikov, didn't Bikov? I think Bikov played in the National Hockey League, right? I think so, yeah.
But certainly the list of Russians that have become good NHL coaches, it's a pretty short list.
Yeah, no. Granted, I'll give you that 100%. Okay, so look, for the benefit of the show, I would have loved to have disagreed with you and say that that he could have been great, but no, unfortunately not.
Yeah. Well, I think Robidas is doing a great job. Certainly, it's a non-story as far as I think the Canadiens needing a defensive coach.
Yeah.
I think Stefan Robidas has done a fantastic job.
Yeah.
The only possibility would be for the power play, but he's got no experience. I think you need an experienced coach to coach a power play. And again, he was mentored by the likes of Terry, and I don't think he had great mentorship necessarily, and I just don't see him being a communicator. The fit doesn't work. I don't think it works for the Canadiens.
Yeah, Bikov, by the way, I stand correct, did not coach and did not play in the National Hockey League. He played most of his career in Russia. So anyway, we'll move on from that. Mind you, it is interesting that the Montreal Canadiens have not replaced Alex Burrows behind the bench with another coach. Not yet, anyway. Not yet, anyway. Yeah. What do you make of Mark Recchi, whose name is out there after being informed that after 1 year with the Columbus Blue Jackets that his services would no longer be retained?
Yeah, bring him in, maybe bring him in for the medical staff there, Tony? Dr. Recchi?
Dr. Recchi, of course, when he gave his opinion on Max Pacioretty and said, I don't understand how bad the concussion could be, considering that he went to watch a movie the next day or something, right? Was that it? Something like that, right?
Yeah. Maybe wouldn't be a bad choice for the power play. I could think of worse choices than Recchi as possibility.
I would imagine Mark Recchi knows a thing or two about running a power play, but I imagine that Marty St. Louis knows a thing or two about running a power play too. And maybe this gives St. Louis the opportunity to be more hands-on with the power play because, when you don't add a player in the off season, to improve your team, the one way you can do it in terms of your offense is with the power play. That's the one way that you can do it.
Yep. Did you see the 4x100 relay, Tony?
I did.
Pretty exciting, eh?
I didn't expect to talk about the 4x100 relay, but yeah, let's go for it if you want. Sure. Andre DeGrasse in the final stretch. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Did you hear it in Spanish, the call, or?
No, I heard it in English. I heard it in English because I didn't watch it live. I saw it on social media. And so I got an English play-by-play of it. So, but mind you, it was actually tough to find it because here where I am, it was blocked out. So if you go on Twitter, it says that it's blocked out in a lot of areas and stuff like that. But I was able to see it. And that wasn't that something that after the United States, they were like Canada who at a previous competition that they come back and they do that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So you didn't get to see much of the Olympics then?
I haven't watched a lot of the Olympics. I mean, I'm up to date. I mean, I see the highlights and I see that Canada has more medals than they've had. And obviously I watched Team USA the other night in basketball versus France. And I watched the Steph Curry show with the 8 3-pointers, which was absolutely unbelievable. By the way, I think Steph Curry, I don't even know if I want to do this right now, but listen, obviously the best shooter of all time, and probably that clutch performance in such an important game has to put him in the top 5 ever in NBA history. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I watch NBA players in the 60s and 70s. And so, I mean, granted, but in my lifetime.
Well, he did
Jordan,
it in
Jordan, LeBron James, Steph Curry.
Yeah, he did it in NBA playoffs too. So it's not like it's a first time for him. Definitely one of the clutch, the best 3-point shooter ever. I think that goes without saying.
Oh yeah, I would think so. Without a doubt. Hey, we talked about the Canadiens and the fact that they haven't made a move yet for their second line. I've sent something to Shane Gaumont on Master Control, and I'm sure he can bring it up in just a second. But when you don't make a deal and you're in the first week of August or so, chances are there's not much that happens between the first week of August to opening day in the National Hockey League. Traditionally, there has not been a lot of movement, especially not in the last couple of years. I mean, if Shane could bring it up, I'll show you what the Canadiens have done in the last couple of years there between first week of August and first week of October. It's usually not much. It's not much. There was the Petrie deal?
Usually have their ducks in a row by then.
Yeah.
But I thought it interesting. Like Laine's still out there, and you notice that he started an initiative today.
Yeah, for mental health. I saw that. Yeah. Good
Yeah.
for him, by the way. Him
Which
and his
makes me
girlfriend.
think, it really was just mental, mental fatigue or whatever the case may be was what it more
Well,
so
if
than
he,
substance.
if he started a mental health initiative, which he did, that you just mentioned, it would lead me to believe that he didn't enter the players' assistance program because of substance abuse.
Yeah, exactly.
Mind you,
Maybe.
mental illness can go with you actually end up,
Right.
being addicted to different substances because of it. But
True.
I think it would lead you to believe that it's definitely primarily a mental thing. We wish
Yes.
him well. By the way, it's a great initiative, him and his girlfriend that started, and good for them. But yeah, if we can bring up a chart, look at this. And this comes from Donnie Quidis. If we take a look at it, the big transactions in the National Hockey League last year, from the 10th of July to the 7th of October, were regarding the Petrie Carlson trades and what came out of it. So the 6th of August, the Canadiens get Jeff Petrie, 75% of his salary, Casey DeSmith, Nathan Legare, a second-round pick in return for
Unloading Mike Hoffman
and Rem Pitlick. And then 9 days later, the Canadiens get Gustav Lindstrom and a conditional pick in the 4th round, 2025, in return for Jeff Petrie at 37.5% of his salary. And then about 5 weeks later, a trade with the Vancouver Canucks. The Canadiens get Tanner Pearson and a 3rd round pick in 2025 for Casey DeSmith. So, at this point, and Pierre Maguire joined me several weeks ago, and I asked him if he thought the Canadiens were going to add to their second line with a winger, and he said, I doubt it. If they haven't up until now, I think the way they are now is the way they're going to start the season. Last year, if it's any indication, he's probably right.
Yeah, but they weren't. I think it's a different scenario this year than last year. They've even on record as saying that they'd like to find a top 6 piece if they can. And last year they weren't really like they were still. I think they realized they were still a year away from thinking that they could, maybe perhaps contend.
Yeah.
And this year, I think, from what you've heard from Gorton and Kent Hughes, that they wouldn't mind finding that piece. And the two guys that have been that I think have made the most sense and mentioned it 2 months ago were McGroarty and Laine. They're both still available. So I still think that they might make a deal of some sort, and there's no rush. I mean, It's almost 2 months before the start of the regular season. So they still got 50 to 60 days to. I like the way Hughes moves on these things, especially when he knows someone's available. Don't be there look too anxious to get it. Wait for the price to come down, and then make the deal. So don't be patient with it.
Stock market. He plays the stock market. Never buys too high. He waits for it to hit a low. He won't overpay. He knows when to buy. He knows when to sell. I think he's done a great job. I honestly, I agree with most of the moves that he's made thus far. Some will say that he probably hasn't made some big ones. I think he's made some pretty good moves. There's no doubt about it. Eric Engels joined me a week ago, and he said, he really wouldn't bet on the Canadiens getting Patrick Laine in return. And he talked about, take a look at Patrick Laine's game over the last couple of years. It's a blue line in game, and he doesn't think that would mesh very well with what Marty St. Louis has going here and the way they're playing.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think that his defensive play has been overblown, but I do think it's perhaps what they also might want to do is have a look at the kids in training camp And again, you can always make a deal towards the end of camp. If none of them have stepped up, if Rod doesn't look like he's ready for a top 6 spot, or any of the other guys, then you pursue it maybe a little stronger. Other teams have a little bit better idea of what their lineups are going to look like, and maybe guys become available. And they, towards the end of camp, if none of them have stepped up and look like that they can secure that top 6 spot that's available, if Doc maybe is a week or two behind and doesn't look like he's, or whatever the case may be, but it doesn't look like they, out of the group of young guys, that they can fill that top 6 spot, then you pursue a line A a little more strongly, or McGroarty if he's still on the market. That might be their thinking as well. There's no rush on it. You don't have to have all the answers 2 months before training camp. It can be, it can be slotted. It can be decided by the players and by management towards the end of camp.
A shout out to Accent Insurance Solutions. You know that all insurance isn't created equal, and you know where to find the right solution for you. Accent Insurance. Accent doesn't sell insurance. They shop insurance for you to find the right product right on the money, whatever your insurance needs, home, automobile, or business. You can call them at 514-363-3636. Visit their website, www.accentassurance.com. Also, a shout out to Manta Sleep. Once again, it's that sleep mask that I've been talking to you about. I know Grant was wearing it last week on the Recruits Draftcast podcast. It's optimized for the deepest possible sleep in any environment. It gives you kind of like a 100% blackout where you can't see through your mask, so you get a deep sleep. It's adjustable. It's a personalized fit. It's real comfort. It's very cushiony, and it'll sit well on your eyes. And I've talked about this before, but I tried it out one night. I woke up the next day. I said to my wife, I absolutely love it. She took it from me, and I never saw it again. Visit mantasleep.com. Use code SICKHABS for 10% off. And I'll pick up another one once I get back from Spain. All right, okay. Maxime Pellerin. Let's bring up the what we saw earlier today on social media. Say the Victoriaville Tigers. Our captain, Maxime Pellerin, has earned an invitation to the Canadiens recruit camp. Well done, Max. Well deserved. I know he's a right-handed shot, and I know he's about 6 foot tall, about 200. And I also know that he has played 5 years in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, and that he's a 21-year-old who has never been drafted. What else can you tell us, Grant?
I didn't. I've never really scouted him. Like, he was never a draft. Somebody that was on the radar for the draft in his draft year, obviously. But from all accounts, like, anytime you captain a team, you get to the Q finals, you're the captain. There's some good leadership qualities there, and I've heard that about him. I asked a scout that covers the Q, an NHL scout. I sent him a note after that came up, and he said he thought he was a decent junior, and that he's probably a good junior, probably a good camp invite for a team. So, there's always a few of these guys every year that deserve a look, and maybe if he impresses at the camp, he'll likely be in the rookie tournament against Toronto. If he plays decent, he'll get maybe an AHL tryout, a two-way contract, ECHL, AHL. I know they're still looking for some players, probably for Trois-Rivières. So get him to camp, and maybe he makes the ECHL.
Grant, is it an easy league, the Q, to put up numbers? Yes or no, and why?
Not as I don't think it's as easy as it used to be. The point totals and the scoring at one point was the highest in the CHL, and it was distinctly higher. You typically had 150, 160 point scores some seasons, and back in the day, but it's fallen into line more along the lines of the other two leagues, and you don't see higher point totals really than the other two leagues. So I don't think that's the case anymore.
the label that the Q used to have, some of the players a little bit softer, stuff like that. I mean, it's a label that used to be there once upon a time. I don't know if that label is still there. Yes or no? What could you tell us?
I don't know. Like, it's on average, it's a little smaller, I think, size-wise. And the players maybe aren't noted for being as rugged overall. But I think we discussed this a month or two ago about, some of the a lot of the Q players that have made it in the NHL are pretty gritty. Like, they may not be the biggest guys, but the Gords and Marchessaults and the like all have all compete pretty hard. So maybe overall it's not quite as gritty as the OHL and WHL, but there's no lack of competitive players in the league, I don't think.
All right, okay. That rookie camp, I know you're already started working on it, right?
Little bit.
We're not going to get into it right now, but you've started to work on it, and you're going to put something out there at some point.
Yes, sir. It's unfortunate that Hage, Demidov, Fowler, won't be there for various reasons. There'll be a few guys missing that we'd like to see, but the college players don't participate in it, and the Russian players obviously, and some of the Europeans. But hopefully Engstrom, Beck, Kapanen, there's a bunch of guys that I'd love to see, that especially Kapanen and Engstrom playing in a rookie tournament and seeing how they look against North American players. It's going to be fun. It's always fun, and it's I think it's great that it's in Montreal, the 2 games this year, 14th and 15th of September. We'll have to get together. I'll come down, and maybe we'll do something from the rink.
Grant, there's a couple of tournaments, obviously, which scouts have their eyes on, and we saw Montreal Canadiens general manager Kent Hughes in attendance at the Hlinka tournament, and the Hlinka tournament is one, and obviously, the World Juniors is another to close out the year. We do know that the United States do not send their best players. We do know it's a tournament that Canada traditionally does really well, and we heard you talk about it in the Recruits Draftcast podcast, where I think you said they've won something like 24 times, and Russia's won something like 4 times, or whatever it is. But there's a tournament where there's some players that obviously display their talent. There's some players probably still flying under the radar. There's some players that maybe caught your attention that didn't catch anyone else's attention. So what I want to do is I want to throw this out there as a tease just by saying that. And if I can, I'd like to have you on again so we can probably do a show dedicated, or for the most part dedicated, to your thoughts on some of the players that caught your attention at the tournament, maybe break down their game. And you know what? It's summertime. Just because we're doing it tonight doesn't mean that we can't have you back on tomorrow or the day after, right? So I'll leave you with that. Is that cool with you?
Tony, I'd love to do that. That'd be great.
Okay, fantastic stuff. Thanks for joining me tonight, Grant. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Tony.
All right, there you have it. Grant McCagg with the Recruits Draftcast podcast. And once again, special thanks to Energy Transportation Group, to Bittt, to Tibi, to Playground, and a shout out to Accent Insurance Solutions and to Manta Sleep. Special thanks to all of you for watching. If you like it, comment 6, share it with your friends. Follow us on YouTube if you haven't already. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. For Shane Gamoa, Master Control, it's a Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. La Vida TB, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.